Are we live?
Nearly there.
And we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Blocks and Frocks with me, Lisa Gibbons, and my colleague, Gillian Godsell. We are here with Jessica Sevingson from Doing Good.
Close.
Seven, I nearly got it. But Jessica is the creative coordinator of Doing Good, and she's also an experienced NFT curator. So we are so excited to have her with us today, and we're going to have a lovely conversation. So welcome to Jessica. Nice to meet you.
Thanks, guys, for bringing me on and giving me the opportunity to share what I have to say about myself and, more importantly, what I do with my company, which is Doing Good, which I should note, I'm not a co-founder. I'm one of the teammates. So it's not my company, but I'm one of the people that they work with.
Amazing. So tell us a bit about yourself and your background first. How did you end up in the NFT space?
So I have this very eclectic career, and I say to people, I just didn't know what I wanted to be when I grow up, and I still kind of feel that way, because I'm still in my early 30s, and I originally went in from everywhere from environmental studies. I became a registered archaeologist for a couple years, which didn't work out, and then I was I've taught English abroad. I've been a dancer, a model. I actually specifically come from the museum world, and that's where I was building my career right when the pandemic hit, which changed a lot. So I had to remake myself, and I stumbled across NFTs in March 2020 when I was working for a different company based in Berlin. And I fell in love with the concept, fell down a rabbit hole. And then in June, I just decided to do it full time. So I spent the first couple of months just learning as much as I could, networking. The biggest gap, knowledge gap I noticed in the NFT space when I first entered it was the people who work with most people in the world, when they try to sell art, they really don't know what they're doing. And even though I come from museums, which is more education focused, I'm very interested in commercial, fine art economics, because they're just very strange, very bizarre. I'm very interested in the absurd. So I went, okay, these people, they see the value, but they don't know what they're doing. So I spent a lot of time working with companies, going back and forth between, this is what fine art is, this is what NFTs are, because the art world didn't understand the tech didn't understand the art world. And there's a large amount of social human behavior that's involved that a lot of people can't really grasp. And that's where the archaeology comes in, because it's a feature of anthropology. So I brought in all this knowledge, and then Doing Good was a company I met during ETH Lisbon. I just met one of the co-founders. We got on really well. And then there was need to expand the creative department, and which specifically is talking about working with the artists. And I'm one of 3 creative coordinators at Doing Good. I'm the most recent hire. And so most of my job these days is exhibition coordination, working with the external curators we partnered with, working with the artists, just to help them out as much as possible when they're either having technical issues or if they're trying to figure out how to move forward. But right now we're actually building out the collector relations department. And so that's brand new. That's brand new. It's less than 2 weeks old. So I'm starting to head in that direction, just because from the economics part of it, that's a big bit. And I spend a lot of time just being a bridge between art, tech, business, and going in between a lot of it. So I'm very dynamic, from performance to research to entrepreneurship to a very brief stint in politics for 6 months. Yeah, it's I'm kind of all over the map, but I think that's what's important when you're being an entrepreneur. Is you need to be dynamic. You need to be able to move around a lot and have this vast quantity of skill sets, which is something I wish someone told me when I first started out in my career, is that entrepreneurs need to be that diverse, whereas in a lot of industries, you need to be very specialized. And so if you're a very diverse and dynamic person, I really encourage you to go look at startups.
I think so. I agree with you there. And I'm always saying to Jill, it's the difference in Web3. When you come into Web3, you feel like you can do, and what I mean by Web3 is anything associated with DeFi or blockchain projects in general, and NFTs and the world of NFTs, because I think there's a bit of there's a skills gap, because no one knows what they're doing and no one knows where they're going with. And also there's an experience gap. So I'm a marketer by trade, and but I feel like in Web3, you can kind of carve out any niche for yourself. So if you're interested in sustainability, you can go down that route, but you could also be doing something, you could do an NFT collection by night, and you can be an artist, and you can also be an artist and a collector at the same time. So it's fascinating, and doing good. Full disclosure about doing good. I saw it a few months ago, and there was a CMO position, and I was like, oh my God, it's so tempting. It's so tempting, because I could see what you see in the company. It's amazing. And NFTs for social impact. Can you give us a bit more information about like how the creation process happens for you? Let's say for you, how you do it?
So the thing that we have to define on doing good is we are not an art gallery and we're not an NFT agency. So we don't provide a lot of the additional services that like agencies would provide, like marketing and legal and like taking the art and like launching it. We are specifically allocating our attention to, we are a marketplace. We are if you need to build an NFT and then sell it, and you want to ensure that it is sold in an ethical way and that you want to use it as fundraisers and you want to make sure the legal is all airtight, like we have that. I don't know another company in like an NFT marketplace specifically that is ethical as we are. Like our efficacy is off the charts. It's one of the reasons why we've taken so long to get off the ground from the initial idea to launching. It took much longer. And I actually came in after the launch. So I wasn't there for the preliminary stages. I'm still getting caught up with the foundational bits. So when you come to us and you say, I have a project and I want to do this, we can provide you with information package of like creator pass, so you can make the NFT, and we can give you some advice about how to like use a wallet and like what networks we're working on. And we do have some information. And the biggest thing that we offer for artists in particular is if you get onto our Discord and Twitter spaces, like we have so much programming around it, from like how to price your artwork, what do collectors look for, what do curators look for, how does this whole thing work? And we're actually now making discussions to expand from fine art into music, just in terms of like programming more than anything else, because we do have some like music enthusiasts in the company, and NFTs are anything that can be packaged and sold. So that's why we're like, if you have art you want to sell, if you want to sell on our platform, you're going to get the toolkit to do that. And the most important part about what Doing Good does is when you sell on our platform, the smart contracts, for those who are looking at this for the first time, a smart contract is a digital document that says where the money goes, what percentages, and it's all automated so that you don't have to worry about it. Like we build that for you so you don't have to do the programming. You are required to send a minimum of 5% of the revenue to a social impact organization of your choice. We currently have approximately 100. We'll be launching a good number more soon. I don't know the exact date because we were just talking about it on Wednesday. So we've onboarded quite a few social organizations. We've done the legal for you. And the cool thing is that in the long run, let's say you as an artist, or like you want to do a big giveaway for a particular social cause, you can put that percentage up to somewhere around 90%, so that a huge amount of money goes there. And then if you need like a tax write-off for some people who want that, whether they're purchasing or they're selling, you can show in your taxes on the smart contract that the money went directly to that organization. There was no middleman. It wasn't like the artist receiving it and then donating it, because there's lots of taxes that are associated with that. It goes directly to the organization. So we've designed this to be a way to manifest substantial social impact by funding the organizations that do that, while also providing support to the creators themselves. Because when we look at even like who purchases, we are nourishing an ecosystem so creators support other creators. It's not just like really rich people buying artwork from other people. So we worked on a lot of partnerships. We have exhibitions going on all the time. We've got one per week until the end of August, where we are showcasing the 17 Sustainable Development Goals by the UN. Yeah, amazing. So this week is number 12, but they're not in order. so it's like our fifth exhibition, but we're doing number 12. And this was a co-curated exhibition that we did through an open call with our community. And then next week is another curator, and then the following week is another curator. So we're doing a lot of things right now.
Amazing. Well, myself and Gillian, I suppose, we're writers in the space and we're marketers and we're everything. We're like a bit of you. We're consider ourselves entrepreneurs. But two things come to mind as artists. One is I should have submitted because I have a foraging collection, so I should have submitted for the sustainable project. But Gillian has a project, and she doesn't know her. Gillian, do you want to describe your GAN project?
Oh yeah, well, this is fun. Oh, I meant to say too as well, Jessica, I did a political stint as well. All the best people. Lisa, you'd have to run for politics. I'm sorry. You have to do it now.
It's a learning curve. You learn things, you're like, whoa, this is how the world works. And it like equips you even if you don't stay.
Oh, I mean, because I went from being an activist in the homelessness scenario, and then I went over to become a European parliamentary candidate in 2014. And what struck me was that the press, I mean, I'm press too as well, but the press before, when I was just an activist, they were very kind to me, and they'd ask me questions and they'd be very supportive. I became a politician or a candidate. Oh my God, they went through me for a shortcut. It was like, whoo! Yeah. It was quite, it would, you have to gird your loins before you went into battle each time. But a little bit about this piece that I did, the GAN project, which is just blowing my mind. I had a house, big Georgian manor house, and I hit divorce and recession. And long story short, the banks took the home. And just before, and we'd also rescued this house. It was about to fall down when we bought it. It was almost derelict. And we spent thousands and thousands doing it all up. It's absolutely beautiful. And anyway, the banks took the house. And just before I had to hand over the key before they sent the bailiffs, I don't know, whatever they did. I wasn't there. Actually, I was up doing a shoot in Dublin the day that the liquidator took the house. So anyway, I wasn't there. But anyway, and so before they took the house, I thought, and this is like 14 years ago, I said, maybe I'll do a naked shoot in the house, as you do. So a friend of mine who's an amateur photographer, he's back in the UK now. So he came and he said, look, Jill, I'm very sensitive. We won't be showing too much off now. I'll see you naked, but the pictures won't necessarily see you naked. So we did some shots, and some of them are lovely, and some of them are just really interesting. And then when I met this company, Playform, and ArtMine is their platform, and they had this GAN AI system where you put in, you have to like about 40 minimum original images, and then the AI, you actually train the model to go through and produce these visions, and I love them.
They're marvelous.
It's something. Sometimes you can see that there's a shape. It could be a humanoid shape, or sometimes the house, like the house and me. We've merged together. It's just beautiful. And there's one or two people keep on buying them. I don't know.
Oh, there's another person. I think you're up to 170. Are you?
179. I think it's mostly two people that are doing it. But I'm like going, whoa, why? Having said that, they're beautiful. And can I do this? Let me see. I have to turn this around. I also did myself. I did some paintings of the house. Sorry, we'll be able to see it or not. Will the camera work?
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Just about. That's a pastel and that's an acrylic. It's hard to kind of see them, but there's a picture of me in front of the house that my brother took before, not naked. I hasten to add, that would be very weird. But anyway, it's an amazing experience. And what I love about it is that I feel like it's a bit like Tracy Emin. Do you remember her from the 80s? Where she was one of the first major installations. She was in the UK. She's a UK artist. And Saatchi I think, took her on. And she had this installation where it was a tent of all the names of everyone she'd ever slept with, including like her granny, sort of like childhood stuff, whatever. So I felt it was like my installation. Yeah, sorry, that's my.
Yeah, I just love that story because I think it's like so. It's such a Web3 story. There's this guy or girl or whoever it is, an anonymous person, just buying the art in the background because they're a fan of it. And that's for me with NFTs. It's like I love the idea with doing good that they're attached to a social cause. I mean, that means so much to me. I mean, that would make me want to support the artists even more. Like with another project that we worked with was Orica, and she was organizing a Ukrainian exhibition for Ukrainian artists. And what she was saying to me, she's like, I'll send you a list of artists from the Ukraine, and if you want to buy them directly, you can. So I just went home and I bought like 3 or 4. And it was the fact that I could. I didn't feel like I had to go to an exhibition or an auction or, be involved in that very high end thing where
And
It was just very,
intimidating, and it's scary.
Yeah.
And there's this snobbery to it. We've had because when you're building an NFT organization, you're not going to have everyone from the art world. And like I gotten invites to go to like a vernissage, and I couldn't attend because I wasn't in the city. So I sent in one of my colleagues who lived there, and I was like, okay, this is your first time. Let me walk you through. It's a lot of like, here's how you interact with people. Also, like, here's what to ignore, because people can be rude. They can be very rude. And it's half the time it's very unnecessary. So yeah, so it's like, it's very intimidating. And there's this ambiance to the art world that was created between the 60s and the 80s, and then kind of bled into the 90s. And these days, it's a combination of like in terms of a social environment in particular, people like that, there's like a hangover from that. But I would also say, and this is something of a learning curve when you work in just like in the arts in general, like artists are consistently not trained to be entrepreneurs. They don't know that they're entrepreneurs. They just go, how do I live off my artwork? And you're like, congratulations, you're an entrepreneur, you're self-employed. No one told you, no one trained you. Your artwork is a product. And now all of the marketing, the PR, the accounting, the legal, like the business planning, the finding clients, all of that is now your responsibility. And you see the panic that sets in. And so when there's people like us or even other platforms that do that, like we are there to support them, but it's at the same time, you're working with people who haven't been trained in business. So it can be very exhausting. So I think also there's like a frustration and an impatience with these people. Like I've definitely been shamed in art galleries. I've definitely just been made to feel like I was really tiny because the way that I approached the gallerist just wasn't like professional, because I was still young and I was learning. I was in my mid-20s and I didn't know what I was doing. And then by the end of the conversation, he ended up giving me a tour of the art gallery. So
let him over.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I just sit there and let him like talk to me for half an hour uninterrupted, and then he felt better, and then he was like, okay, she's listening to me, maybe I'll just give her some time. So it does make it a lot easier when it's online. And the fact that you can support is even better. Like I always wanted to work in this industry, but it's very messy and it's unregulated, and a lot of things that would be considered illegal in every other part of the world is not illegal in this industry. So bringing the two together is awesome. And something else that crossed my mind in terms of like how NFTs now work. I didn't mention this because it's sort of a node to my story. Is in 2017, I was trying to build out a platform with a friend of mine in Toronto, which is kind of where I'm from. I was going to school there at the time. And we were trying to find a way to connect people of our age, like it's mostly millennials because that was the market at the time. And now we're moving into Gen Zs, who want real art. Like they want original art. They want to support artists. There's that threshold of like, can I find it? I don't know how it's priced. Like the prices aren't put on the wall, which is really difficult. And then they don't understand the business background to it. They like most people in North America don't know what the word provenance means. I moved to Europe and I was like, everyone knows what this means. And that was new for me. So there's a lot that goes into it. And so we were trying to build out a platform to connect people together while also trying to support digital artists and protecting them. I didn't know, like NFTs were invented that year. The infrastructure definitely wasn't there. And so it's like we ended up giving up after about a year for various reasons. And it's like this has changed the way everything now works. And it's exciting. Like for me, yes, there's a lot of security problems right now. OpenSea has openly admitted that 80% of the artwork that's sold on their platform is stolen, which sucks. But the thing I say to everyone, it's the Wild West. It's literally lawless. The laws haven't been written and they haven't been voted into the governments. So you need to do the work yourself. You have to make sure you're being careful no matter what. But ultimately, as I think everyone in this room and everyone listening can see, is the utility is too good for it to go away. It's just there's a lot of kinks to work out, just like the early days of the internet back in the 90s and 2000s, kind of like YouTube, like when it first started. Like I always look at this like YouTube. If you get in early, then you can do quite well and you can make your career in it, and then you can go on to do other things, whether you're Bo Burnham, who's now on Netflix, or you're like a professional gamer, or you're a YouTuber. Like and it was great because it gave people a vehicle to either teach or share or be comedians or learn. Like there's so many things you can do, like learning. YouTube actually specifically taught me different styles of dance, which has been noted. I know I'm going a little bit off topic, but has been noted to have actually revolutionized the dance industry around the world because we have that exchange.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
People like, YouTube is like an educational platform just as much as it is as an entertainment platform. And the same could be probably said for, I mean, the likes of Doing Good with the artists that come on board. Are they all already doing NFTs somewhere else or thinking about it? They're obviously thinking about NFTs, but are there some artists that have never done NFTs before but are really great artists that you would bring in?
We get everyone from, we just closed an exhibition, when was it? This past Tuesday with Gray Area and Design Science Studios that are both based in California, and they're very well established with some really big name artists there. And then we get like brand new people who don't understand the technology at all. Like we get everything because for us, we're just offering the technology to make it very user-friendly because the UXD for NFTs last year was pretty poor because it was built by developers. And so we're trying to make it more user-friendly. Mm-hmm. So we get everything. And that's why we offer so much education. A really big push that's gone very well in the past month. We've brought on a couple different community managers that are based down in Latin America, like Colombia, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina. And that's because half of the company is actually Spanish. So because it was founded, like it was built in Barcelona with a combination of like Americans and various people from either Spain, most like a large portion from Latin America. Like one of our co-founders is from Venezuela. And that's where also the passion for doing, like making solid impact comes from, because he's lived through the political issues that are going on in Venezuela. So we have this huge community in Latin America that we're working to expand because Latin Americans have seen the power that NFTs and crypto have with their governments that are not very trusted. So we're rapidly growing. Like we've got a large number of people from Latin America on our Discord now. We've got different language areas like French, English, Spanish, Mandarin, Russian, like all like we try to support as many communities as possible. So we're not only an English first company, and just give access to more people. Because the cool, like with our model where we want creators to support other creators, the Latin American community understands the concept of community beautifully. The way that a lot of wealthier nations don't, because if you have money, why do you need friends? That's sort of like, it's a weird behavioral, it's a weird human behavioral thing. You're like, it's fine. I'm supported. But if you need support, human beings go to other human beings because you need that sense of community. Like I live in a Latin country. I moved here for that. I love it. I think it's really, really important. So if you want to build community, like also thinking about it culturally in order to have a support network from NFT component is super, super, super important. And as an artist, community, because you need a network.
That's a very interesting point. Actually, a really interesting point that I didn't think about before, that they have already built communities that they can reach into and reach out to. And they're not necessarily reliant on creating communities from scratch online then. A lot of some fine artists, because we interview people all the time, but I interviewed a few very well-known traditional artists that would exhibit in big exhibitions, but as you said, they don't have any following. They don't have any, core fans that they'd bring along with them. They might have like one or two wealthy collectors around the world, but one or two in the world of NFTs and in Web3, it just doesn't. It doesn't work, So it's interesting.
People say building communities. It's a lot of like building collector bases, and that's kind of like where my career is moving into, is how to build up a collector base. And because I have a background in anthropology, I've lived around the world, like in Seoul, London, Toronto, and I've interacted with a lot of different communities, including almost marrying into a Muslim family a couple of years ago. I'm like my personal background is incredibly eclectic, where I call myself an enigma because I look one way and then you find out stuff about me and I'm very, very different. And what I found is that like human behavior from a social and cultural viewpoint is super important. And so like studying anthropology is a lot of studying human behavior in an interactive perspective, but in like specific geographic positions. But I would also say from different thinking patterns, because religion is a big part of that as well. So if you want to like the easiest way to kind of build community is like a seed community is you go to your friends, and the more friends you have, the easier it is. I've got friends here who work in the entertainment industry. They are out every single night. They know everybody. When they throw an event, they invite all of their core people, and they have too many people to fit in the venue. So it's like, it's difficult, I know, for a lot of artists, because all they really want to do, because so many artists and frankly developers are hyper introverted. That's what makes them so intelligent and in tune with their own emotions and being able to create what they create. The social skills that go with that are difficult. It's usually why there are business people like myself who go out and do this for them. But at the same time, it's like people still want to meet you. They want to build that human connection. And people say, I've done it. I put it on the canvas, or I put it into my music or into my fashion. And you're like, yeah, but people still want to talk to you.
And then even in, I don't know if you find this, but from people I've met, certainly in Web3, that notion that you can be above other people, that's not really going to fly in Web3 either. You know, that artists are better, or they're, I don't know, I just find I find that a bit kind of, I don't know, it's a bit, it doesn't mash well with the vibe of Web3, if you think like that, you know. I've seen a few artists that kind of stand out for like, oh, you know, I'm an OG NFT artist in this space, whatever. And I was like, this space is so new, you know, you have to bring everyone along for the ride with you. And I think it's a much better approach. Well, of course, I'm Gillian's biggest fan, so I'm like, look at what Gillian does, you know. But no, and other
Everyone
artists
needs
as well. Carlos Marcial, one of the artists we met in Lisbon at NFC Lisbon a few weeks ago. I was watching him on a panel, and I like his attitude. He's just really friendly and nice and warm.
He's just happy. He can make his living through art.
Yeah. It makes you want to support him, and you know, makes you interested in his art a little bit more. Whereas there are a few that are kind of just a bit like, ooh, you know, I've been doing this a while, and I'm better than everyone else at doing this. And like, you know, everything in this space is original, and can be original if you want it to be, you know. So anyway, that's just my take on the art.
I was going to ask you a question, Jessica, just out of curiosity, so because I'm coming only today to your project, and I'm loving it, right? So do you have a big community then in Discord? Does the site how long has the site been going? And is there like, do you have pockets of communities?
So I mean, if you want to pocket it off, like we have different pockets in terms of languages, kind of like I said, Latin American, Mandarin, in terms of that. But so we've got, I'd have to open up Discord to see the number that we currently have, but it's relatively high to my knowledge. We've got, we're definitely above 10, I think it's like 13,000 on Twitter. I will say our Instagram following does need to improve. And this is one of the things on our like new CMO person who's working on it. And yeah, so we have different pockets in terms of like geographic, because we are completely decentralized as an organization. We work across 12 time zones, 20 countries, 14 nationalities. And I'm ballparking that. I do know that we're all the way from like Mumbai to San Francisco and LA. Like that's kind of our span. Occasionally Indonesia if someone like relocates temporarily. So we're all over the place, and it's like we try to support as many people as possible, but we're running into the issue that a lot of social cause organizations do, because we're legally a foundation. There are so many people in the world that we want to help. And it's a lot of very passionate, very empathic people that work at doing good. It's the best team I've ever met in my life. Like everyone's brilliant, dedicated, like so hardworking. And so we always have more people going like, art, not war. Can we support this thing? There's like the Ukrainian effort that we had to push out. And it's difficult because we can't help everyone. And if we take on too much, then nothing is done well. So we have to be very choosy with the areas we put our efforts into, to where the need is, where we can help the most, where we have the resources, what is the most in need. Like that's really what we have to focus our attention on. And that's what I say to everyone. Like if you yourself are not doing well, you can't help anybody. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. So for the pockets and stuff, like it depends on what we are in need of in that like chunk of time.
Yeah. And are you an artist yourself as well, Jessica?
I would say yes. People keep telling me this, and I always feel it's this really big feather, like an ostrich feather in my hat that like catches the wind and like pulls me over. But it's because I think a lot of artists have imposter syndrome, because it's like one of my mentors is like a musician, composer, like now doing oil painting, and he's still like, I am not an artist. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, what? What are you talking about? Like, you're like, fine, you have like a money place is what I call it, when you have like a stable income, but like you're doing all this other stuff and you've made like solid money doing it. So he's trying to like wrap his head around it as well, because I go for him for more of like business advice more than anything. But for myself, like I've started tapping into my own creativity a lot more. Like I am a retired dancer. And so in that respect, I would say I'm an artist. And then here in Lisbon, I've got friends of mine that produce different events. And so because of my dance background, I show up and I'm like a character that's part of the experience. I have to build like a character and put on a costume. And my costuming and my makeup is entirely custom. It's often like hand painted onto my face in that respect. And you can't see this right now because it's like we're in my own house, but in that corridor, there is a 3x3 meter mural that I hand painted myself because I'm painting everything in my house. I just installed a custom made, because I built it myself, like palette bench. So I would say I'm a very creative person, but I identify as a designer. I'm very function oriented.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like I'm very creative. I have artistic moments, but I think I put a lot more artistry into functional objects. And once something has utility, it's no longer art. It's now a design. Okay. Yeah, it's like it's a different. And a lot of people have argued with me, especially when it comes to communication and emotional enhancement, because that's changed a lot since we crossed the 2000s, especially now. But in the 20th century, before this new definition came up, that was what design and art was. Like design has utility and art doesn't.
That's really interesting. So you can have like this beautifully designed carved chair, you know, that is like carved out of natural oak wood, and that someone spent so much time into it, but wouldn't be considered art because it has utility. Is that?
Yeah. My favorite, one of my favorite examples is a rug. Is that beautifully designed, extremely, like the rug that's on the floor beside me is from Morocco. It's intricate, it's stunning. It could have like symbology and iconography around the world is very different. For all I know, every color, every pattern has a meaning to it within the Bedouin cultural background. I don't know what it is. To be honest, I was sort of like, this is like a secondhand rug that like a friend has loaned to me. But you take the rug up, you put it on a wall, it's now a tapestry, now it's art. So, like,
yes.
And then you're like, oh, it's on the ground, now it's like, what? Like that doesn't make any sense to a lot of people. So the thing I always say when I'm giving any, like I have a course I've designed called Decoding Visual Art. It's just like a crash course on like, let's get down the foundations of art and what it is, and like some of the BS that a lot of people don't want to talk about. That's a big thing that I'm about, is like taking out the BS from art. I have to give them the definition of utility, and everyone wants to argue with me. And I'm like, I can't change this. This is what is in the canon. And that is what we're going to work with today. So you want to go and fight this battle, you are so welcome to, but I have other things I need to do right now. So
it's good though in a way, because it kind of makes it easier to differentiate the NFTs that will have utility from the art NFTs. Yeah. You know, because otherwise it gets kind of muddled and people don't know what they're buying here, what they're buying there. So, you know, at least by what you're saying, this makes sense to me, and I can understand what you're, you know, I can understand this is the way it's defined, and then we can change it, and we can add some utility, and then it's a new way of looking at it, a different way of looking at it.
Yeah, a lot of people like they'll make art and they'll turn it into NFT. And if you have that NFT, that can become a token that gives you access to other stuff. And I think a lot of people just want to add art to it because they do need some sort of object, and maybe they want to support an artist, or they want something original. It's a little bit of branding. Like, I'll be honest about that. So it kind of depends on what people go. But like I said, a lot of people got into the NFT space not knowing what art is or was or what it will be. And I'm kind of here just going, this is sort of what it is. Because the thing I say, like what all art professionals, whether you're in public art, like museums or commercial, art has no inherent value. That's what it does. It has no inherent value. The value is given by the people around it. And it's actually Duchamp that said this really well. It's called the creative act, which essentially says the artist can put as much meaning into it as you want, but if there's no one there to see it and there's not an audience to make their own meaning to add to the provenance, then like the artwork is incomplete. It's that saying of if a tree falls in the forest and it, like, what is it? If there's no one there, it doesn't make a sound. And I'm kind of like, it doesn't matter if it makes it sound or not. If no one is there to witness it, it's not important. And it's like marketing, but it's also kind of the art world just in a nutshell, because we all make meaning out of it. You are buying intellectual property. And the purpose of this artwork is to make a comment, to communicate an emotion, to have like an interaction with you. And so I almost think about it in another level. It's like very meta of saying the artwork is not like this thing, which is my phone. It's not this thing. It's not even the images on it. It's not the music you're listening to. It is what is going on inside of you. That is the actual experience. That's how you explain conceptual art. It's the idea, and it's what your emotional reaction is. And it's art is so difficult to pick apart. Like I've been here for 10 years, like arguably 15, and I'm still going, what is this thing that we're doing? Like as I said before, I'm attracted to the absurd. So I always want to know where how far does this go? And the deeper you get, the weirder it gets.
That's interesting. And when you say, so you're about being the artist again, obviously you've been a dancer, you're part of the arts, and a former dancer, mind you, you're too young to be. It means you're not maybe professionally dancing, but
I say former because I'm not doing it professionally anymore. I crashed my motorbike when I was 25, and I needed reconstructive knee surgery, so that really cut me off literally at the knees. Okay. So at the time I was actually 2 months away from starting my master's degree in museum studies. So I had to remake myself at that time. And thankfully I had an exit plan in place. I've actually tried to return since then. It's hard. Like your body cannot do what it used to. And the thing is, even if you can get it there, you are so tired. Like you can feel the damage, and it does stuff to your body for so long, like your joints, your muscles, your bones. I have so many spinal injuries. Like it's just, I tried really hard. I could still definitely go back and do some like lighter stuff. But I definitely can't do what I used to.
And what kind of art what kind of dance was it?
I was trained in jazz primarily, and so that's what I usually stick to, because it's a bit, I call it like ballet, but with attitude, because it's the same techniques, but it's more of like you have more sassiness. You're not meant to be floaty and soft, which I'm not that person. I'm much more of like a kick the floor down kind of girl. And so I did jazz, but I dabbled in other things. Like I did burlesque for a year in my early 20s because I wanted to explore that part of myself. And I've also done belly dancing, and I trained in aerial silk for a year, which is very expensive. And it's one of the reasons I haven't gone back to it. I wish I could do more, but the classes are very expensive. I've done more that I'm like blanking on. I can't say I've done this because I definitely haven't performed or taken classes, but I got into shuffling in my late 20s because it's easier on your body. And I was introduced to like the raver world around 26. So I was actually very late to that world. And I loved the music and I liked the people. And so that's how that sort of dance came out of it.
I have to send you my friend Shabelle. She's a Shannos dancer, but it's kind of modern Shannos, which is an Irish traditional dance. And I'll send you her clips. She's amazing.
But I was just thinking, would you not consider making NFTs out of your dance?
Oh, yes.
So they don't do well. They don't do well. I haven't done belly dancing in a long time. I thought about it. Yeah, I've thought about it. And the thing I found is that I know a lot of people want to make money with their art, but what I found is that I'd actually rather work with a lot of very creative people and have that input. And then my art is my escape from like a lot of things, frankly. It's my mental health. It's why I'm painting. And my art also, by the way, it extends to like 3D objects. Like I just remembered this now. I'm currently sewing at my own dress. It was supposed to be for my birthday, but it's so complicated. My birthday was weeks ago. Like I'm not going to be done for another 2 weeks. So whatever. But it's like, I do that as an escape. Like I'm very business oriented, I've discovered. And although I could totally make money selling clips of dance, it's kind of like everything. If you don't have an audience, you can't really sell very much unless you had that zeitgeist, just like a lot of luck, the build it and they will come model doesn't work. And something I was going to touch on when you said before about there's some artists that are really big snobs, they're not down to earth, they're very inaccessible. I do find that also just in crypto in general, because this started out as a money space. And there are so many flashy people. I call it the Kardashian, but now the Anna Delphi effect.
Oh, yes.
I know. Thank you, Netflix, for making that like be more known. It's a lot of fanfare, it's a lot of fluff, it's a lot of sparkle to distract people from what's really going on in the back. I am very much operations focused. I think that's the dance training, is like I want to make it work well. And you have to think about everything at the minute level, from like your muscles to get that leg up here and be able to hold it and be able to balance yourself. And you have to go and do all that integral thought from A to B, or else you're going to really damage yourself. And so when in a business faction, I'm more like, all right, that's a great idea. It's a great dream. How are you going to do this? And that's where a lot of people tend to fall apart. And so when you have a lot of sobriety coming to you, I'm like, okay, cool. What's your plan? I've had everyone say like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do these things. I want to rule the world. I'm going to do these things. I'm going to get these people to pay attention to me because what I have is special. I'm like, you could be fucking talented. Sorry for swearing on this, but you could be incredibly talented. But if you have no game plan to execute, you don't have any followers, you don't have anyone to back you up, you're just like a pipe dream. If you have a game plan and you have something else you bring to the table, then you're much more worth like everyone else's time. So if I've thought about this a lot, about how to sell NFTs of dance. And I would say if you're a prima ballerina and you're difficult to get to for a show, or if you want to just have like more passive income, do like those 15-minute clips that you would see on Instagram or TikTok, and you can sell those. You can. But you have to be like, I would say, like, this is my opinion, and maybe I'm just being also a snob because I am. You need to be like a prima ballerina. You need to be extraordinary, and you need to be able to say like, I can't do that.
Yes.
And I'm like, I follow ballerinas on Instagram because I sit there going like, this is amazing and inspirational and it motivates me to do well. But I don't think I don't think for the amount of effort and time I would need to invest in selling NFTs that they would turn a big profit. Because I also see what they look like on the back end, and I see the difference in the sale numbers for the artists that really hustle and the artists that don't.
So
I think as well, if you have a story, like Gillian has a really big backstory.
I think too as well. Artists have to be entrepreneurs. Again, going back to that thing. That's a really point. An artist, you that must frighten the bejesus out of the artist going, you are an entrepreneur.
I've said that, and they panic. They immediately like, it's like tunnel vision, just like what's happening to them. And I've started delivering it to them a little bit more gently for that reason. I was like, maybe this is not the best strategy.
They need a bit of hand holding. I think that's what doing good is kind of doing, and that's why it's doing good. You know, it's because it's hand holding the artists a bit. We
don't do as much as people would like us to. So we do it's like light-handed hand holding, and it's only because we don't have the bandwidth. Like we are still a growing company. We have tech support, but there's like 2 people. We don't have customer support. Like I am customer support for the most part, and so it's very limited. Like we have community managers, so we always say if you have questions, please go to either Twitter or Discord and ask questions there. That's the best way to get support as much as possible, because if you're doing exhibition coordination, like you're so deep in the back. With other stuff, like I don't have as much time as I would like to help people. So we do as much hand holding as providing the tools, but like you have to do the art, you have to do the marketing, you have to make your own social platforms. We're not going to do that for you. We do, but we are considering now working with agencies that launch those, that have all of those tools and resources. I just came back from a meeting with a woman who has an agency that offers that. And so we are considering now partnering with those agencies. So it's like, okay, if we send you someone, like they need to sell on our platform, but you're going to put together the campaign.
Yes, to help them get there and help them grow. Yeah, that's great.
So which comes first, the charity or the artist?
Can you give me a situation? Because that's a difficult question. It's like, well, the artist makes the NFT and they choose the charity, and we're onboarding charities and social causes and not-for-profits all the time. But it's like the charity doesn't choose the artist unless they want to have a specific campaign. So if they want to do a campaign on doing good, and it's very efficient for them to do so, they can curate the exhibition, they can find their one artist, they can do the campaign, and then they just use our platform because all of the money will just go to them, and they will figure out the contracts with the artist for the percentage cut, and we don't touch it. Like that's just on there. Like we say, like we always have artists say, I want to do this fundraiser. We're like, amazing, here's a creator pass. Your company or your SIO or whatever is already on our platform. So you can set it up this way. This is how you do it. And they go, great. And then they're expecting more assistance. We're like, that's where we end. Like, that's it. That's all we do.
So that's great though. It's still, because you've onboarded 100 or, you know, however many charities that you have, if artists come on to you, so if an artist is going to be listed and can be on the marketplace, then you pair up the artist with one of the charities that's already existing.
That's not even like, it's not like we're like, hi, I'll introduce you. It's more of like, this is where it is on the platform. Like we're already onboarded. Like we're trying to do it as hands-free as possible so that we can focus on more of the automated and growth, right? Yeah. So it's automated. So when you create the account, so I can kind of walk you through the process. So you make an account, you hook up your wallet, you get onto Polygon, which is what we run on. And then when you're making your profile, it's like name, which can be anything, and username. But once you make your username, you can't change it. Very important. I found that out the hard way on my very first day, actually, because I made the wrong thing. I had to make a new account. It was a whole thing. And then you can put in your socials, your website, your description. And then we have modeled all of our SIO organizational structures on the site when you need to find causes based off of the 17 SDGs by the UN. And that's the Sustainable Development Goals, a second time if you've forgotten from earlier. And so we have all of them listed, and then you can choose it based on topic. I am personally much more in support of environmental activism with gender equality first, specifically when I say that, because I have to define this, supporting women in underprivileged and underdeveloped countries. It's not about gender equality at home. I think we have loads of people fighting that. It's more about like girls who can't go to school. And so I'll pick those topics. And then from that, you'll have a list of like 5 to 10 different social causes that are working on that. And you can pick them. You can choose your main one, which is what everything automatically goes for. And then you have your list. And then when you upload an NFT, you go through the process of like uploading it, naming it, any other like breakdowns of like who, like say there's other contributors to it. Let's say that it's a collaborative exhibition. We will be launching galleries eventually. And then you can go through like percentage cuts, the social cause you want to go through, what you're going to send to them. And then there's like a few other steps that I'm blanking on at the moment because I'm fighting, I don't know if it's a head cold or allergies right now, but I'm definitely not clear headed today. But that's sort of how you pick the social cause. And then you'll publish the NFT, which it's not actually minted yet. It's like an in-between where you have the record on the blockchain to say that I made it, but because you haven't minted it, and we do what's called lazy minting, then it like you can actually take it down. Like you can destroy it and it won't cost you money. It will only cost you money if you put it for sale, then you have to delist it, and then you have to destroy it.
Brilliant. Yeah, it sounds really easy. To be honest, you're making it sound easy by the way you're explaining it, which is brilliant. That's exactly what you want. So
one piece of advice I can give to people is that when you hit your first bump, please do not give up. Troubleshooting is important. Like we are still working out bugs, but I find so many people get into one hiccup and they're like, I don't know what to do. And they freak out and they go, I don't want to destroy anything. It's blockchain. It's Web3. I'm super lost. It's not that hard.
That's a good advice for everything. I mean, we spoke with Flare Network yesterday or during the week, and one of the founders there, Hugo, said, stick with it. It's like, just stick with it for now, especially in the world of Web3. You need to give things a chance, you know? So I think you're right.
Yeah, doing good is still in beta. We've got this one bug that's called DID. It's driving us nuts. So there's a very simple way to solve it. I have to do it about once a day on my own account. And when I send it out, like, here's how you troubleshoot it, whether it's an email or an article, I also have to sort of put in parentheses, do this 3 times. It's the average amount of times necessary to get this to work. So, and this is what the problem is with Web3. And then I think they do it once and they're like, it didn't work. And this is someone else's problem and I need help. And it's just like, yeah, so go ask for help. We have tech support.
Yeah,
we have tech support. Just go ask them.
Well, so I think that time is nearly running out. So we will just leave it there. And Jessica, do you have any like one piece of advice that you'd give to artists if you were to give one thing to take away?
Anyways, I said this last week at a different chat. You really need to take ownership of your own business. Like, you are an entrepreneur. Your artwork, it is your heart. We're never going to take that away from you. It is your heart. It is your opinions. It's your mind, your soul, but it's also a product, and you need to treat it like that occasionally. If you really, really want to make it as an artist in the world, you need to own the reality that you're now self-employed, and to also make sure you have a money place to keep you alive. It's not your job. It's not your identity. You can just tell people you're an artist, and then treat it like such. Take educational classes, go do crash courses on how to write a business plan, find mentors, like really and truly treat yourself like an independent business owner. And it's hard. It's really hard, and it's very challenging, and please don't get discouraged. And a secret tip in this is that it doesn't matter if you're on the business side like me, or if you're on the artistic side. If you don't really get any traction your first 10 years, especially if you're in your 20s, that is normal. And that's a brutal truth that no one tells you. I wish more artists knew. Your first 10 years while you were growing in this industry, which is one of the hardest industries in the world to succeed in, particularly from a financial viewpoint, give yourself an extraordinary amount of time. And don't let it touch your ego. I wish I'd known that, because, man, it totally messed with my ego and my sense of self-worth for the longest time. And then once I kind of crossed that 10-year mark, things started to change. And when I met more people who've been successful, they've all been like, yeah, the first 10 years you make no money, because you're in a learning position. And when people look at internships, you're like 26 and you're doing an unpaid internship, and you're like, yep, but at least you got it, because 3 years ago you wouldn't even got that. It's a huge pain. It's a huge pain, but I always just be like, be patient and take it seriously, and try not to beat yourself up too much. Just get so many teachers and so many mentors.
Yeah, it's a good, very good advice. Be kind to yourself.
Be kind to yourself, big time. I wish I'd known that. I really, really do.
No, brilliant advice.
A lovely piece of advice to end up on. And it was so lovely to have you, Jessica. I think that we're Blocks and Frocks are delighted to have you, and we'll definitely have you on again. Maybe we'll do a roundtable with artists sometime as well. But yeah, so that's it for this week.
Maybe we'll go applying on the site now afterwards. Woo.
Oh, Gillian would definitely apply.
Send us an email and we can sort you out with that. We've got like a whole protocol. Creators@doinggood.com is the best way to reach us.
Great.
If you're an artist, just ask me questions or get on our Discord channel of Doing Good. Or Twitter. We have like lots of ways you can reach us, even on Instagram. It's just Twitter and Discord are like the 2 places that artists hang out the most. And we've started to taper off our Telegram chat just because it was like too many channels. Yeah, so definitely come and follow up with us, and we're happy to help as much as we can within our boundaries.
Brilliant.
Yay. So Telegram, Discord and Twitter are the main ones.
Discord and Twitter is the easiest way to reach us.
Doinggood.com. Yeah.
Great.
Okay,
Brilliant.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
If I just end by saying, for someone who feels a bit foggy with the oncoming, flu or whatever allergies, you're crystal clear. I hate to see you on a good day.
I'm trying. I'll just put it this way. This part of my brain is just like feeling very soft, where I'm like, I can do this, but like, what? I'm just not as sharp as I normally would be. We'll put it that way.
I'd hate to see you. Hate to.
You're having a good day.
Okay,
Thank you so
have
much.
a lovely weekend, guys.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.